is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
And now, your host, Kyle Yeomans.
Today is April 15th, 2025, and we are 9 days away from the NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Welcome into the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It is Miller time. We are officially underneath the single-digit mark. Glad you're with us with Zach Wolchuk, Brian Broaddus, Tommy Yarish, Nick Harris with Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Yeomans. 9 days away, gentlemen. It can't come fast enough, and it also can't hold off fast enough at the same time. We're ready to get to our draft coverage with 105.3 The Fan on Thursday, continue through every single one of the 257 picks throughout the week, and then get into what is happening with this team and every other team in the NFL after that. So it's getting down to crunch time, which also means it's the last few opportunities that we might have, Nick Harris, to look at certain players, including one that we've been waiting on for a little bit, Will Johnson, working out from Michigan, the cornerback. Working out, was it today or yesterday?
It was on Monday, yeah.
Monday.
Yeah,
so yesterday.
I don't
working
know what day
out.
it is anymore.
Yeah, me neither. Working out and getting to see what exactly he's bringing to the table. Do you have an update?
Yeah, so he did work out yesterday for scouts in attendance. He did not run his 40, which that was the big thing we were all asking going into the draft process in general is, are we going to see Will Johnson run? He has all these lower body injuries that he's battled throughout his career. You don't really know what that verified athleticism looks like, but we got some of those other points of athleticism. You could look at vertical jump, 37 inches that he jumped yesterday, a 4.33 short shuttle, which whenever you're comparing it to other corners in the class, it's kind of average. And according to Dane Brugler of The Athletic, above average during positional drills. One scout told him Will Johnson looked very smooth, and that's what jumps off tape, right? Is that Will Johnson is this smooth transitional corner that can move his hips really well at times and cover some of the best players in the Big Ten and some of the top competition that Michigan has faced over the last couple of years. I think back to that national championship performance that he had a couple of years ago against Washington, came out in the second half with an interception to open against Michael Penix, and played really well in that game. It was a force in that game, but obviously had a lot of help around him. Now this past year, battled injury, and so it's a tough eval. Don't get me wrong, and I think guys that have a positive view on Will Johnson and guys that have a negative view on Will Johnson, I don't think there's a right or wrong here. I think this is going to be something that, unfortunately, we're just not going to have a lot of data on, and it's going to have to be something that you go forward with on a really good eval eye. And this is where, having seasoned scouts, having seasoned evaluators really come into play, because when you can look at a guy like Will Johnson, what can you factor in, what can you factor out, and how can you make that part of the evaluation process? This is going to be one of the more difficult ones. I even know we have differing opinions on this table about Will Johnson, but he's going to be a guy we talk about on night one regardless. He's going to be a guy that does get drafted in the first round. It's just a matter of where does he get fit and how does he end up playing early on in his career, and can he stay away from injury?
We're a couple weeks into the baseball season too, right? There's a saying, whenever you have a pitcher leave the game, you close the book on X pitcher, right? Now that you've seen his pro day, you can close the scouting notebook on Will Johnson, right? You can close the book. You've got it all. You've got the tape, you've got the numbers, you've got the vertical, you've got the shuttle, and the lack of a 40. So now the book is closed on Will Johnson. Does your opinion change now that it's closed?
No. My opinion's pretty much stayed the same on him. I'm nervous about the lower extremity injuries. That seems to be a constant with him over the last 2 years.
Hamstring, quad.
Is that something that's going to linger into his pro career? Honestly, that's a topic of conversation with a lot of these corners. Benjamin Morrison's a guy that I love the tape. You could argue maybe has some of the best tape of any corner in the entire draft, but the hips. Can I trust a guy that's got bum hips translating to the league? Is that going to be a problem for years to come? Revel, when it comes to the ACL. Now, that's one we've seen corners come back from, but how long is it going to take to him to get back to the form he was at East Carolina? But when it comes to Will Johnson, he is at his best, in my opinion, playing off coverage where he can read, key into the quarterback, break on the football. I don't love him necessarily all the time in run support, and anytime he's got to turn his back to the quarterback, I am now terrified. The double moves he you can be susceptible to. I just personally have some other corners that I like a little bit more than Will Johnson, but I've had conversations with people that would disagree and say Revel's a little more stiff than Will Johnson. I don't. I think Revel's better than Johnson when it comes to moving down the field. I think the recovery speed, the long speed, those are questions with Will Johnson, and we didn't get that necessarily answered when it came to the 40 time. So good player. I just personally like some other corners more in this draft class, and he scares me a little bit, especially if we had that conversation at 12.
Yeah, to me, this is where, and the side that we're on now, the media side of things here, that now I think that we have to be less critical of these teams drafting players. Because to me, this is like saying, I'm going to give you $1,000 for the stock market, and I'm going to ask you to pick me a stock that you know nothing about the company. You know some things about the company, but you don't know everything about the company here. This is what we're getting into right now, is an era where these players, I was just going through Dane Brugler's Beast and just looking at numbers, just seeing, where numbers were. Yeah. I've never seen a Beast that had fewer workouts completed when it came to combine workouts and pro day workouts. You're asking these scouts now, and I we could all be super critical about these scouts and how they draft and all that. And Nick said it the best. You're going to have the ability to evaluate just really the tape and hope you get the medical right and hope you get the player right, because they're not giving you the whole picture. They're asking you to pick a stock here, but you don't know the company completely. And it could be millions of dollars. It could be lost games. They're now asking you to do things as a scout that's really kind of for years has been a staple of what scouting is. You go to get the numbers. You go to Ann Arbor, Michigan with the anticipation of completing the picture for this guy so you can make the best evaluation of him and pick him where he needs to be selected. Me personally, I haven't moved him. I have not moved him on. I mean, I've always had him as the second-round guy. I think he's the second-round guy. If you stack him right now on my board, he's the 25th best player on my board. But if there was a time where there was talk that he was the third or fourth or fifth best player on boards, I don't think we could say that anymore about this player. This now has become an era where it's become tougher on scouts to make good selections because of lack of information that they don't get.
Yeah, you guys hit the nail on the head, really. I've got him as a second-round player, too. I never moved him. I think that long speed, even before the pro day, was really kind of the concern with Will Johnson. And, okay, can he match up against guys who are just straight go runners? Can he match up against guys who hit the double move really well at the professional level? Those are going to be worries that you've got to live with. So that brings into, I think, the element of, okay, what scheme does he fit in best, right? When you think about what Matt Eberflus does, it's pretty zone-heavy. I think that's a solid fit for Will Johnson and what he'll be able to do. They ran a lot of it at Michigan. It's an NFL-style defense that they ran at Michigan. So, in a scheme like that, I could see Will Johnson having success. But then you think about, like you mentioned, Wolchuk, the lower body extremities. Brian, you hit the nail on the head from a scouting perspective. So all things that you've got to consider. But I haven't moved him. I think he's a really good player. If we're talking tape alone, I mean, you look back even at the freshman tape from 2022. Obviously, he's very fresh back then, but he's one of the best corners in the country. And I don't think he fell off too much in terms of being one of the best in college football from there on out. I think it was just the injuries that kind of lingered on him. You think about the Washington receiver core that they played in the national championship game that you talked about, 3 NFL draft picks and, a first-round quarterback. He was able to shut it down with that great Michigan defense. They had a great secondary, too. Guys like Mikey Sanders still out there. But he's a good player. It's just going to be one of those things where, like Brian said, you got a lot of questions, and somebody's going to have to take a chance, and it's going to be one of those that could make or break you.
How many corners do you guys have above Johnson?
I think 4.
4.
I've got Hunter, Barron, and Morrison in front.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've got Hunter, Barron, Revel, and Morrison.
Gotcha.
I've got 2.
Actually, I take it back. I got 3 because I have Hunter as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I got 3.
I've got 2.
Gotcha.
Ahead.
Yeah,
I'm a little
I
higher.
think, I think it's just going to be a fascinating situation on draft day. You're going to see a team fall in love with Will Johnson and take him high. I mean, you look at a team like Miami, right? They just put Jalen Ramsey on the trade market. They could be potentially looking for a corner in that first round. You look at the Raiders. Maybe they're looking for a trade back opportunity so that they can draft a corner in the first round. Their cornerback room looks awful. And so, Is it going to be Barron? Is it going to be Johnson? Will Hairston sneak up in there? Will Trey Amos sneak up in there? Revel, is someone going to swing on him in the first round? I think there's if you're a zone defense and you play majority zone, you're a top 5 in the league as far as zone usage. Then yeah, I think it's worth taking the shot on Will Johnson. But I'm not getting there personally until I'm at pick 20, 25, right around where Brian has him on his board. I feel the same way.
Yeah, I'd feel a much better trade back.
He is an outstanding player, and there's no question. I mean, and I'm not. I could say the arguments that I have for him being taken at 12 is I just have better players in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's my evaluation, and these gentlemen around the table have done their evaluations as well. You know, they maybe they have guys above him. Everybody's board is a little bit different when it comes to this stuff, you know, and yeah, there's going to be ultimately what matters at what's done across the hall. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, you know what these guys see in the player. Are they comfortable go ahead and not having a 40? Are they comfortable not having the complete picture with some of the other corners that they have, where they do have, okay, you know, you're just asking for, okay, confirm for me whether your speed is good enough or not. You know, that's all I'm asking. And, you know, there's guys, and we're going to see it now more and more. And an old guy like me who's been in the scouting world for a long time, this is troubling. It's harder. It's about time for me to go to the lake house and not worry about this anymore, because I lived in an era where numbers were important to me. It was before metrics and before, you know, all these things that people do. The numbers from the combine, the numbers at the pro days. Never have I seen guys say, hey, I'm not going to work out at Indy. Fine, I'll catch you in Ann Arbor, Michigan for a workout.
Yeah.
And then you do 2 things in drills. I just wasted my time going in Ann Arbor, Michigan. What I did figure out, though, is your short shuttle time's not very good. You know, and you're a tall guy. There might be some questions. You're like in the 13th percentile when it comes to corners with that shuttle time.
Yeah.
Do you not have quickness? You know, is this something, did I see this on tape? So I think there's some teams, to me, Nick's right. There are going to be some teams that go ahead and just roll the dice and say, you know what, we feel good enough about the player and going forward here. You know, I'm not going to ding him for not running because, like I said, I'm keeping him in the exact same spot. I just would have liked a more complete picture of the
I'm with you, though, Tommy. I do think he's more scheme-specific. We saw Joey Porter Jr., who I think we were all looking a couple of years ago, like, why in the world is this guy falling? I had him as the best corner for me. He ends up going in the second round. We find out afterwards teams thought he was scheme-specific, so the Steelers end up getting an absolute steal. I think now you got to look at the new defense here, and you're right. Like, maybe Flus looks at him and says, hey, that's more of a fit for what I want to do, whereas I do think previously, if Al Harris was still in the building, I look at Revel from East Carolina and think that's a corner that I think Al Harris would have absolutely loved.
Sure.
With the size, the physicality that he would play with. But off coverage, more of a zone, long-limbed guy in Will Johnson, maybe he fits the profile of what the Cowboys would like to do a little bit more. And they do an excellent job with their scouting department, talking with the coaching staff, figuring out, okay, what do you want? What can I get for you to be able to succeed? So maybe there is a marriage there that they like more than we do.
And it goes back to what Brian has talked about on the show a couple episodes back, is how succinct is that at the moment, because it's a new coaching staff, it's a new group, and you're trying to mesh that all together over the course of a couple of months to try and figure it out and try and get to that point. I don't know if it's a perfect marriage right off the top, but everybody's board is different, as we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to have to try and find some level of consistency on a guy like Johnson, and it's tougher to do that without the numbers, and that's what we're kind of alluding.
Well, there's
to
guys in this draft that have not run. I mean, there's some
Plenty
guys,
of 'em.
and you know, and so you know, we're focusing on Johnson right now because if you're a Cowboy fan, your corner is one of your needs. You're looking at your depth chart, and if you watch our shows on this platform, we talk about the different positions and stuff, and corner's definitely one of them. You could see potentially a corner going at 44 here. You know, there are opportunities for the corner to be selected here. Like I say, this guy is a very, very good football player. Yeah. I just wish we would have had the complete package on him to know exactly, as comparing him to maybe some guys that we've talked about have played before that have had some success or failed in the process.
Now, kind of keeping to the same topic of conversation, but switching positions, when you mentioned everybody's board is different.
Yeah.
Bobby Belt let us know in our group message that Jalen Milroe, quarterback from Alabama, and Jackson Dart, quarterback from Ole Miss, will both be attending the draft. We kind of talked about that a little bit last week, but with both of those in attendance, And I guess now the rumor is starting to get out there too that, hey, be careful. Who was it that had that quote? Be careful when it comes to saying this is not a good quarterback.
John Snyder,
draft.
my old
Oh,
intern.
Snyder.
My old
Okay.
intern.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
So it was Snyder.
Yeah.
So John Snyder comes out and says, be careful when you're talking about these quarterbacks, and
Yeah.
it's not a good draft for quarterbacks. Is this something we need to keep in mind whenever we get to the top of the NFL draft on Thursday and get to the point where, hey, we've thought Milroe and Dart may be slipping and they may not be there for the second, third round? Or is this something that they may slip into that first round and quarterbacks are still going to be viewed very highly?
I know that that draft invite doesn't always necessarily mean that they're going to be a first round pick, but Jalen Milroe, man, I've got him as QB4 for me.
Wow.
I think this is an incredibly high upside player. I know that everybody is very much across the board on him. I think this is a guy who is what a lot of people thought Anthony Richardson was coming out of college in terms of what he could do with his legs. But Milroe is just completely different, and he's a game changer in what he can do with a rushing ability. You're not going to see a guy 6'1", 220 pounds that's going to be able to move like he does. And that's going to change an offense, especially in a modern-day NFL where you need to have a quarterback that can do both for the most part to be able to lead an offense down the field. You don't necessarily need a guy who runs as well as he does, but you need mobility. And Milroe gives you that. He's got a heck of an arm. His deep ball is his best attribute, really. The part that he needs to polish up is the short to intermediate game. How often do we say that about quarterbacks coming into the draft? So, you look at him, and it's all things that you can fix with Jalen Milroe. It's all things where if he gets into the right system and he develops well, like a Pittsburgh, for example. You look at them at 21. Is that a team that Mike Tomlin could say, okay, this is a guy that we want to build on and trust to bring our offense forward? I think Milroe would be a great fit in a place like that. I really like his game a lot.
And Tomlin had dinner with Milroe in Tuscaloosa the day before their pro day. The GM was there as well. Steelers have done a lot of homework on
Will Howard, another guy that they met with.
Yeah, they've done homework on these quarterbacks. They're in a situation where they're probably going to take a quarterback and a running back early in this draft. They're probably looking at rehauling their backfield. But yeah, talking about Milroe, you talk about the upside for sure. I mean, his ability, his athleticism. It's like Debo can sling the pill a little bit. Like that's
kind of what he's built like.
Yeah. It's a fascinating eval. I do wonder if someone's going to take a swing on him in the first round. I will say him getting the green room invite doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen.
Correct.
But it is fascinating that he did get the green room invite. I think that probably tells us he's going to go early second at the latest now, just because of certain teams valuing this guy a little bit more than others. But it wouldn't surprise me if someone swung on this guy before a Jackson Dart or somebody in this draft.
Because at the worst case, he's an offensive package type of weapon that you just want to be able to get on the football field and allow him to use his athleticism. He's just so frustrating, for lack of a better word, to watch, because there's moments where I've totally written him off as a passer, and then he makes a throw that I'm like, oh my gosh, like the half that he had against Georgia.
You could watch him against
Oh my
Georgia,
gosh.
and then you could watch him against Michigan against Wink Martindale, and Wink Martindale went after him.
Yeah, very confused.
And so it's a very, very confusing evaluation there. But go ahead and finish. I'm sorry, but you were talking about
I wanted to ask about the fifth-year option when it comes to quarterbacks. I wonder how much teams value that when it comes to, hey, do I trade back into the first round? Maybe a team like Cleveland, the Giants, the Saints even, they don't take a quarterback in the top 10, and then they're looking at the back half. Are we picking up the phone and saying, we want to move up to go get a Dart? We want to move up to go get Milroe. Maybe you see a Shedeur Sanders start to slide. Because this thing could either go on a run that could benefit the Cowboys, where maybe Tennessee takes Cam Ward 1, maybe the Giants, who are having a private workout with Shedeur, do they end up shocking us all and taking him at 3? Or do the Jets end up saying, we do actually fell in love with Jackson Dart? He ends up being a surprise pick like Michael Penix Jr. was a year ago. We weren't necessarily projecting him to go in the top 10. New Orleans is hunting quarterbacks. Diana Rossini had a scoop today talking about that. But do they end up waiting? If they wait, these quarterbacks could end up falling. It could be a Will Levis-like situation where they end up going the top of the second round. Or maybe you do have teams wanting to secure that fifth-year option. They try and trade back up into the back end of the first round.
I think a team that you have to kind of keep an eye on in this draft would be the Los Angeles Rams at 26.
Yeah, you've been in on them with Dart.
I think that if Jackson Dart's there for the Rams at 26, I think that's going to be their selection there. So, yeah, these quarterbacks can go anywhere. With you mentioned New Orleans, the situation there, it doesn't. But Pittsburgh, the Rams. I was on a podcast yesterday with Giants.com. and they kind of they were asking me a ton of questions about Hunter, and they were asking me a ton of questions about Carter, not so much about what the quarterbacks were. So, it kind of got that vibe that maybe they think that they're going to take either Hunter or Carter at 3 and then kind of worry about the quarterback at the top of the second round is, how that I think that might play out for them.
And it's interesting, too, because you're talking about the Steelers who are in the mid-20s. You've got the early 20s. You got the Rams that are in the mid-20s. If you're talking about trade partners, too, right, that might be a little far for Dallas to pop back and to keep going backwards. But if they're trying to come up and get a quarterback and they're trying to maybe leap over each other in order to do so, that's where you can maybe find a dance partner. And there's the premium pick that you would need to get the right compensation. Because we've talked about the possibility of not getting the right compensation. It all depends on how these guys view quarterbacks and how these teams look at quarterbacks and how they see how these prospects could possibly fit with their franchise.
How far, if you're in the back of the draft, do you think you have to go? And I'm not saying I don't think you have to go to 12. I mean, I think you have to get ahead of the Colts.
Sure.
So to me, then the first team I would call would be Miami. That's the team that I would call. I'd call Chris Greer. Dallas.
They're at 13.
Yeah, they're right behind Dallas there. So I just make sure that I get ahead of, if I could get ahead of
Indy.
In case if you get good intelligence that tells you that Indy's going to take a quarterback here. And really, let's be honest, Chris Ballard's fighting for his job up there. He might not have another opportunity to draft again. This might be his last one. He's got to go get players that can help him win. Can he develop a quarterback? He's tried to draft a quarterback before, and it hasn't worked there. So, they might be in a situation right now where he needs playmakers there to try and win football games, not developing quarterbacks. Maybe try and develop the one he's got. But I would say that, you're pretty sure that Dallas is not going to take one.
Yeah.
But if you can, can you get Miami convinced? And see, this is where you have a deal where you say, who's going to offer me the better deal to move up? Would Dallas at 12 or would Miami at 13 offer me the better deal? And then you just take one or the other, whichever one you have to pay the least amount to go up and get.
Yeah, they could look at Cincinnati at 17 with Seattle basically saying, hey, maybe we do kind of like some of the quarterbacks in this draft class. Does John Snyder throw us a curveball? Pittsburgh, obviously, at 21. Yeah. Is Sean Payton willing to wheel and deal a little bit at 20 there with Denver? And then you mentioned the Chargers, the Rams. That is and I love Jackson Dart. Like, if you were to go to Sean McVay and the Rams, that would be a perfect fit. You sit a year behind Matthew Stafford, and then he's probably ready to take the keys for the car there. That'd be a lot of fun. So those would just kind of be some landing spots. I'd try and jump ahead maybe of those teams if I wanted to move up and go secure that quarterback.
Always the biggest wild card is the quarterback position in the NFL draft. It's the hardest one to scout, and it's one of the toughest ones to get right at the same time. All right, when we come back here on the Draft Show, got some Twitter on the 20. What is one realistic player that if you could guarantee in any round, who would it be? That's one of the questions. We're going to talk about it right after this with more Talking Cowboys.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
Hi, Drew Pearson, former Dallas Cowboy and now Pro Football Hall of Famer here. If you're struggling with your vision and tired of those contacts and glasses, don't throw a Hail Mary. Go where I went. Laser Care Eye Center, the official LASIK partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Drew, thank you so much for trusting us with your vision correction procedure. At Laser Care Eye Center, we offer 6 different vision correction procedures to help patients see.
Check them out at dfweyes.com. Tell them Drew sent you. Hood, hood.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
The first ever Lone Star Smokeout is coming to Arlington. Watch headliners John Party, Cody Jinks, Midland, and more at this 3-day outdoor country music festival. Plus, enjoy barbecue for some of the best pit masters in the country. Get your tickets today at SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing partner of AT&T Stadium. Welcome back into the Draft Show. Not talking Cowboys, I apologize. We're getting ready for this year's draft with a free event called Draft 101 with our friends over at 105.3 The Fan. Talking some Cowboys and Cowboys draft on Thursday, this upcoming Thursday, April 17th, 7 o'clock in the Fan Showroom. That's 4131 North Central Expressway in Dallas. Free dinner from Whataburger. They're taking care of it. Taking care of the Whataburger all the way across the board. Giveaways including a signed Dak Prescott jersey. No sign up. Just come on out. Love to meet and greet and talk with everybody there. Can't wait.
I think CeeDee Lamb has a signed helmet involved, too.
Ooh.
Oh, baby.
Wow.
So there you go.
There you go.
I think the Whataburgers were showing up for
Yeah, no
regardless.
kidding.
Even if you hate the draft, just
That's
get
very
some
true.
Whataburger.
Come get some free food.
Yeah. Otis and I are going to throw back some patty melts.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey,
Onion
go for
rings
it.
with it. Yeah.
We'll let Vaj handle things.
Yeah, thanks, Voch. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think we should all get a CeeDee Lamb signed helmet out of this.
I think that'd be awesome.
That'd be fun, yeah. All right, it's time for some
Twitter on the 20.
Attaboy Beamer, midseason forum, baby. All right, Brady L on Twitter wants to know if you could guarantee one realistic player in any round that would end up a Cowboy, who would it be? Who would be that one player that you would love to have? Could be any round. Could be first round, second round, third round.
That I would love to have, or that I think is most realistic.
No, that you would love to have. If you could guarantee it, stamp it.
Okay.
He's a Cowboy. Who is it? It would be
man.
your opinion. Not real. It's just got to be within reason. You can't say Travis Hunter to the Cowboys because I don't know if that's totally.
Travis Hunter to the Cowboys.
Okay.
I think
Good call.
Ashton Genty, Boise State running back. He's pretty good.
Run the card in.
I think a fun one would be considering positional value and getting this. You need this position in this draft. I say getting this position in the third round, I think could work out for you. Bayshell Tutton out of Virginia Tech. I think that would just be a fun one that I think could work on multiple different levels. You know, in your first and second round, you can go at receiver/corner. If maybe you want to go edge in those first two rounds, that's there as well. But you don't have to address the running back position until that 76 spot. I think Tutton is a guy that would be there at 76. He's got the home run speed. We've talked about him on the show. 5'9", 209. He's got the home run speed, and he's a physical runner that initiates contact. Broken tackles all over the place. One of the best in the class when it comes to yards after contact. I think it would be an incredible pairing with Javonte Williams. And if you want to find a game where Tutton is playing at his best, go watch the Boston College tape from last year. And he can get it done out of the backfield a little bit too. But I think this would be your early down guy that can create those home run plays that you haven't had since Tony Pollard before his leg injury. It would be a fun one in my eyes.
Ooh. Tommy.
I'm going to go with a different running back earlier in round two. I'm going to go Travion Henderson from Ohio State. This is a guy who can play on all three downs. He has the home run speed, and that's everything that you're looking for in a running back. When you look at the complete package, Henderson gives you everything. He can catch out of the backfield. He's an excellent locker room presence. That's something that scouts and NFL folks have been super high on with him. And then his speed is a game changer. Every year at Ohio State that he was healthy, he was extremely productive. 1,000-yard rushing season, even though he was splitting carries with Quinshon Judkins this year too. Just an excellent all-around player who you can still mix in Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders to take some weight off of his back, but you just look at what he's able to do for you on first, second, and third down. This is a guy that you can lean on. It's a guy that can fit anywhere in this offense, and he can do it all for you in the running game and out of the backfield as well. I love Travion Henderson. I think people in the NFL are starting to like him too. Don't be surprised if he goes either late in the first round or early in the second.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't be surprised if we get 3 first-round running backs if him and Hampton snuck into the back end of the first round there. I guess I'll rock with a defensive lineman, and I've talked about him before on the show, but I'll go Alfred Collins out of Texas. Williams, and I got into a battle with Vach here on him, but I love him. And you might have to take him at 44. I don't know if he's going to make it to 76, but I think he fits exactly what they need in terms of being a big, wide-bodied run defender. But I think he's slippery as a pass rusher. I don't think he's getting enough credit for what he can do, being able to push the pocket, get upfield. He understands leverage. He's strong and disruptive to push the pocket. He works the stunts well. I love him. And I think just a one-year starter at Texas, because he had to play behind an absolute stud muffin in Tavondre Sweat the year before, who's been pretty good at Tennessee. And then, of course, Byron Murphy, who ended up being a first-round pick going to the Seattle Seahawks. But I like Alfred Collins, and I think his best football is ahead of him. He's a player that the Cowboys obviously have met with. I know there seems to be interest there, so a realistic option that I would also love would be Alfred Collins out of Texas.
Yeah, I'm kind of caught between two guys, but I'll go with the one that I've loved really all along. Noel Williams from California, the corner there at 6 foot 199. I was thinking about the with Carson Swearinger too from UCLA, but I'm gonna go for probably the bigger need right now. I think linebacker still is a need. Don't get me wrong. But I'm going to go with Noel Williams, like I said. I just love the way this kid competes. He can jam you. He does a really good job of staying connected. He's got physicality. He's not afraid of mixing it up. He doesn't shy away from contact. I think you need an edge of physicality for this position, and he does a great job. When the ball is in the air, it's his. He puts himself in position to make plays. This guy is a bully, with the way that he goes about his game. He plays downhill. There's a burst to him. He's got deep speed to carry routes. As you can see here from the clips, he returns punts, as you see, and he's just got that ability. When you play him, like when he goes onto the field, he does everything in his power to try and win every single snap. I think he will be a guy that might be available for you there in the third round. I think maybe some other teams are looking at him. Maybe he will go a little bit higher than that. But, man, he is a tremendous player, and he fits a need here for this organization.
If you had to go Noel Williams or Parrish from K-State in the third.
I love Parrish as the nickel player.
Yeah.
I'm taking this kid right here. I think I could do a lot more with him. I know the nickel stuff is important, but if I had this kid on the outside, I think I could play. I think I could play our guy inside. That Bland. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I would kind of that would be my plan. But Parrish is a heck of a player. Don't get me wrong about that either.
Yeah, former receiver in high school, and he uses those ball skills.
He does.
In the secondary, had 7 interceptions last year. Also, he's an Oxnard native. So
yes, he is. Be a homecoming for him for training camp.
In some ways, familiarity with him.
Played on those fields when he grew up, playing out at the River Ridge Sports Complex.
Dodging the Gophers.
Yeah, all the time.
He does have a lot of Deron Bland to his game.
He does.
Williams.
And when you look at the first 2 rounds of cornerbacks, I think there are options there. If you don't come out of the first 2 rounds with a corner and he's sitting there at 76, I think that would be an awesome option.
There's several corners, I think, in round 3 that I'm pretty excited about. Riley from Louisville would be an interesting one to discuss as well.
Yeah, the name that I had was a corner in the second was Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky. If he ends up falling to 44, Nick's trying to give him away in the first round.
But he's a tremendous athlete. He might end up sliding.
Great player. You talk about a guy who has Deron Bland tendencies. Mm-hmm. He had 5 interceptions, which led the SEC. 3 of those were returned for touchdowns. So he's got the same kind of. I think he's your Jordan Lewis replacement, with the Deron Bland interception and ball hawking mentality. Had success playing both man and zone coverage, fluid movement. He was great at the Senior Bowl, nose for the football. You can tell he watches a ton of film. He's got a good knowledge for the game. A little bit light in some places, not a sure tackler at times. I thought that was where he probably lacked the most. But his production stood out, in the way that he kind of led that Kentucky defense was impressive. And I think he would be an incredible pick for the Cowboys. If he fell to 44, here's one of the touchdowns that he ended up returning. That was pretty pitch and catch at that point. But I think he's your Jordan Lewis replacement with Deron Bland upside too, which would be really fun overall.
And I think he's a guy you could trust on the outside until Trayvon Diggs is fully healthy.
He's 6'1", 186. He's got good size. His ability to track the ball is pretty rare.
And versatility too, which you can kind of bank on one way or the other. All right, Tyler wants to know, would you rather, in your first 3 round picks, would you rather draft 1 all-pro caliber player and 2 role/backup players in your first 3 selections? So 1 all-pro, 2 role players. Or would you rather gain 3 solid starters for the foreseeable future?
3 solid starters.
Absolutely.
For the foreseeable future.
Yeah,
this team, it's no doubt in
What position's the all-pro player?
I mean, he doesn't specify, but just let's play.
Let's go corner.
Sure.
You up for that?
No, not
three solid.
Not compared to the three solid.
I would love it.
What about What about wide receiver?
Do you feel like that you could beat Philadelphia with 3 solid starters?
Yeah, I think that's going to help you out a lot.
Again, depends on where the positions are.
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
What if the All-Pros at wide receiver?
That's what I'm saying.
What if you
had
get a guy?
2 All-Pro wide receivers.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
Because the strength of the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion, is the secondary for them.
Yes,
now.
it is.
With the way that they got, with
Quinshon Mitchell.
yeah. They got rid of the one guy they've got rid of a couple of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Gardner Johnson. They got rid of a couple of problems. They're going to probably get better there. I was just wondering, like I say, I think anytime you have an All-Pro player that, somebody that could tilt the field in your direction, the 3 solid starters to me is like some of the guys that you've had here, like Chauncey Golston. It's 3 solid starters, isn't it?
I mean, he didn't really start for you until this year, and it was injury related.
I don't know if I'd call Chauncey Golston a solid.
I think it'd be like Anthony Hitchens would be a solid starter.
Give me a starter then. That a capable starter or whatever.
Solid starter. I'm looking like a Jake Ferguson type. That's a solid starter.
Yeah, solid starter. Okay.
Cooper Beebe, solid starter last year.
Now, come on. He's got all-pro potential.
That's kind of the
Even Ferguson made a Pro Bowl in 23, so that's even going high end of a solid starter. If you could get 3 Jake Fergusons,
like Jordan Lewis, solid starter,
or get a
I just don't know. I just don't know if you could beat teams. I don't think you could beat the Eagles and the Detroit Lions. Some of these teams with just solid starters. I just don't think you.
Well, you've got the 2 All-Pro corners, and has that worked?
No.
Right?
They've barely been healthy together.
And I just think this team needs just how they build. I think I just need the starters to be able to fill out the roster.
Oh, they're good at getting solid starters.
Yeah,
they're good. They're good.
But I hear you.
They're good at that. When this team was really when they're winning 12 games, what did they do? They went out and they had all pro. They had all pro guards. They had all pro players. That to me that makes a difference. And I think in this day and age, solid starters great, depth great. It gets you 9-10 wins.
Yeah.
But give me the all pros.
It is a good question because you can look at it either way, and there's a good chance that one or the other happens or that neither happens, and it ends up being a complete wash. All right, Oswaldo wants to know, given that there are 4 big needs, and he listed his 4 big needs as wide receiver, running back, corner, and 1 tech, would you rather use that 5th round pick, the first 5th round pick, or trade it for an established player at one of those positions? Since you can take 3 of those positions in the first 3 rounds, and then use your first.
I'd like to know
pick
from you guys real quick if you could do it. You've got the 3 that he named, the 4 positions he named. Give me the positions you would eliminate that you can't take, because he's got 4 positions, but you've
3 premium picks,
and you got 3 picks. Eliminate 1.
Probably.
It was wide receiver, corner,
defensive tackle, 1 technique, and running back.
Correct.
I'd probably eliminate 1 tech, but that doesn't mean I'm comfortable at 1 tech.
I would agree with that. I would take, because I would rather have a receiver, running back, corner.
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys.
But man, I still don't feel great about my 1 tech.
I think they need a 1 tech. I really, really do.
But I would say in this scenario, if you're trying to trade a 5th round pick for an established veteran that already exists out there, you probably have a better chance of getting a legitimate receiver with a 5th round pick than you would any of those other positions.
We gave up a 4, and we're arguing about Mingo right now.
Yeah, no kidding, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we already did that, Oswaldo.
No, we can answer his question. I was just curious of which position you guys would say. I got 4.
question.
I got 4 needs, and I've got only 3 spots.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to eliminate?
I think 1 tech, because even if you need those 3 other positions more, I think is 1. And 2, I think this defensive tackle class is deep enough to where if you can't use that 5th to trade for an established
Corner's pretty
player,
deep.
That's true.
Yeah, but is it deep in the
running
5th,
back's pretty deep
in the 5th round?
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying.
I know you're not, but I'm just telling you what you're saying.
Yeah,
right.
I
think though, for what the Cowboys need, just because you still have, whether people like it or not, you still have Mozzie Smith there, who's an option for you. He needs to take the next step, but he's still there. And I think that this class is deep enough, and they've made the moves in free agency enough to where that's the room that you look at and say, okay, this is maybe one that we can, if we decide to not trade for an established player or even an earlier pick, you think about if they package maybe some picks to get back into the 4th round or something like that, I think that would be the spot.
Is there any chance that they could go and not draft of the 4 and eliminate a wide receiver?
Say that again.
Eliminate a wide receiver. Can you eliminate of the 4 in good conscience? Can you eliminate the wide receiver of the 4?
No. I mean, it's the momentum's
from what they have currently on the roster.
No, I mean, it seems like that could be the pick at 12 right now.
Yeah.
So if you go from like possibly taking a wide receiver in the 1st round, I don't think that's going to be eliminated in the first 3 rounds.
Well, it goes back to the conversation that, and I think we'll get deeper into this on Thursday. When is the latest you can take a wide receiver that you automatically feels better than Jalen Tolbert and Kavonte
See that
Turpin?
and Mingo, they're going to give us that.
Where do you feel like there is a guy that's better than those guys right now? Because right now you might have a 1st or a 2nd round pick that's able to come in and immediately be that number 2 to CeeDee Lamb. But outside of that, you don't take one in the first 2 rounds. It's not like corner where there's a Noel Williams sitting there and he could possibly be a starting caliber player right off the bat. I don't think I feel comfortable at wide receiver past 44 at what we need them to do.
Yeah, I think
you're not just looking for a dude. You've got a bunch of dudes.
Sure.
Bingo, Tolbert, Turpin. You got a couple guys there. But I need a guy that's going to come in and immediately be a starter at wide receiver. And if you don't get one at 12 or at 44, I don't think 76 is going to give that to you.
So you want to be able to pencil in, this is my wide receiver 2 going into training camp
Absolutely.
on the depth chart.
Yeah,
and I hear what you're saying, and I think just looking at my stack, defensive tackle would be the one that I'd wait on, because I think in the 5th round I feel better about the D tackles than I do about any of those other positions. Yeah. I mean, could you end up being able to get a Horsley from Boston College? Could he end up being there? Could J.J. Pegues at Ole Miss be a guy that hangs around a little bit and
he's
is your stackhouse from Georgia?
Isn't he?
At 309, but I mean he's a wide body. Either way, they need interior help. So I mean, there's just a lot. C.J. West, see a guy that could maybe be there for you.
I'd be
in the 5th.
Yeah,
if he's there.
Yes. CJ West getting a lot of 3rd round love.
Get ready, guys. When we're sitting in the 4th round without a pick, get ready for the run.
Stink.
Get ready for the run that we observed last year at running back on these 320-pound defensive tackles, and you're going to see it. And it, you know what? And I was on again with the Giants on their product. They're looking for a defensive tackle. Hell, believe it or not, they have one of the best 1 techniques in the league. They're looking for a 1 technique and they're looking for a 3 technique. They need to get better. The Giants might start the run in the 2nd round. You know, something to keep an eye on there.
Vach is in our YouTube chat, by the way. He's taking over Twitter on the 20, and he's not even here. But he said running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, defensive tackle, so 1 tech in this conversation. Who's playing corner for you?
Yeah.
That's my question. Yeah. Where are you playing? If you can trade a 5th round pick, go get a starting corner. I don't know if that's super available. Teams aren't just shipping off starting cornerbacks out there. I think it's more likely you could trade for a wide receiver 2 and draft those other 3 positions. But if we're just eliminating a position, I don't know how you can look at wide receiver, running back, and corner and not use those.
You got a guy in Miami all of a sudden who wants to be traded.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
Nick, in your 4th round, give me a wide receiver that might be in the 5th round.
Wide receiver.
A 4th round on your board.
5th or 4th?
A 4th round wide receiver.
Okay.
A 4th round wide receiver that you think might slide into the 5th because you might have him a little higher than everybody else.
Dante Thornton Jr. out of Tennessee.
There you go. There's a big guy that can fly.
So I got him in the 5th.
6'5", 215.
Yeah. I mean, and we all know about Tennessee receivers. We all understand that their vertical game, their route tree's not great. That kid makes plays though.
Yeah, he does.
Do you feel
He's
like
big.
that? Do you feel like that? Do you feel like? And I mentioned wide receiver again. Do you feel good enough? You have him. Would you like to pick him? If you didn't pick a wide receiver in the 1st or the 2nd or the 3rd, would you feel good about him picking him in the 5th?
To be my wide receiver 2 on this team, I mean, it would be. I wouldn't feel good about it, no. But it's what you would have to do. I mean, 6'5", 205. He certainly got the size. Big play machine. He led the FBS in yards per reception last year. I put in my notes as basically if DK Metcalf could just run go balls.
Yeah.
He could only run.
This kid catches slants and stuff.
Yeah, he does. He does. It's just it's the over the top stuff that really.
I think
it's the short to intermediate game. He has he doesn't have a lot of love there.
He's a little bit of a one-trick pony for me.
They don't run a lot of routes. I think Tennessee, we know this about with Hyatt and guys like that. It was a lot of this game, and I don't know, man, that size, that speed, if you get him in, I mean, to me, when you watch him run routes, and I like where you have the kid, by the way. I'm just saying, when you watch him play, to me, if somebody got somebody like that and coached him to the point where he can do more stuff with the underneath things and stuff. With his speed, he should be able to scare corners to death, much like what Golden does in Texas. When you get off coverage and that guy's flying at you, and you know damn good and well this kid's going to run 4.3 and run right by you, like this highlight right there. You know, you're gonna make some people have to play you a little bit differently if you understand. Like I say, I think Tennessee's passing game, route tree stuff is horrendous. But this kid, look at this right here. Look at that right there. Just break inside and set in this instant separation.
Big hands.
You know, and that's against Oklahoma, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. There you go.
So 6'5".
I like where you got him, Nick.
What is he?
He might be going in. He might. You had him in the fourth. You said.
I have him in the fourth. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about 6'4", 205, and he can run a 4.3?
Oh, he's a blazer.
Early?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly
just because of traits.
Could definitely see a team swinging on him because of traits. I mean, there's so many traits teams out there that really swing on these types of guys earlier than they should, I believe. But I think this would be one where you could probably justify it a little bit more.
I'd argue for Ty Felton, I think, over him, the Maryland wide receiver.
Not Miami, Maryland, right?
Yeah, and this is a guy that you talk about being an issue for corners. He drew 3 pass interference calls. I mean, he just finds a way to get behind the defense and can accelerate. I mean, his game against USC was really, really impressive. He is thin, though, much like Thornton. Like, this guy's got a very, very thin frame, but he finds a way to get open past the secondary and the second level, puts a lot of stress on corners. So Ty Felton I liked a little bit more than Dante Thornton Jr. From Tennessee. And then Pat Bryant, we've talked about before, Brian, out of Illinois.
Hell of a player.
I've got him in the fourth. I might have him higher than other people do. I love Pat Bryant, his ability to win contested catches. I think he's one of the more underrated wide receivers in this class.
He torched some guys at the Senior Bowl specifically a couple different times. Tommy and I were watching him ruin careers out there for a little bit.
Not great for certain folks.
Yeah. You have anybody, Tommy, that you would put on that list?
At wide receiver?
Yeah.
In that fourth round picture, I think
4 or 5.
You know, guys that I've got there would be Restrepo from Miami, Horton from Colorado State. I'm higher on most. I think that with Ja'Cory Brooks from Louisville, I think really Brooks would be one for me that I really like. This is a guy who was a former 5-star, went to Alabama, didn't really work out for him there, but had a good year at Louisville. And you know, you look at it's more of an upside pick, I think, but big body, 6'2", 184 pounds. You know, you would have to take a chance on this guy. His first team All-ACC, 1,000-yard season, 9 touchdowns, started in 12 games this past year for Louisville. And he's kind of a roller coaster when you watch him sometimes. It'll all be there, and sometimes it won't. But, you know, the frame and the ability to go up and get the ball. I think he was a Shrine Bowl guy, too, if I'm not mistaken.
He was.
Had a pretty good week over there. So, again, a later round guy. You might even be able to get him later than in the 5th. But just a guy that, watching his tape, I really like.
And he had QB2 in this draft, throwing him the football. Tyler Sharp, right? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Let's back that.
Louisville.
Let's back that up.
Louisville.
QB 22.
Yeah, probably. All right, we got to take our second break. When we come back, we've got some Tell Me Mores that the guys are going to bring to the table, a couple guys that we haven't hit yet and want to tell you more about. More of the Draft Show coming up right after this.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. only at Smoothie King.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. That, along with all our other favorite Tyson Foods products, sure make game day special. Score some delicious Tyson Cowboys Nuggets and become a game day star, just like our Cowboys. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Draft your number one hat pick today with the official onstage hat of the NFL Draft, now available at a pro shop near you or online at shop.dallascowboys.com. A Fanatics experience. You like that one?
No, I like that one because I think that this thing being in Green Bay, this draft, with the temperature, they made me give these people some starter jackets. Instead of a hat, you get a starter jacket. That would be
cool
to wear over whatever team you're with. That
parka or a beanie, you know?
Yeah, something, a beanie. It's going to be a little chilly there.
Did you hold on to any of your old Green Bay like throwback stuff?
I've got all my old rain suits. Yeah, you never know when you need a rain suit while you're fishing. I've fished in a Jacksonville Jaguar rain suit before. Green Bay, Philly. I've done it all. I used to give all my clothing though when I was in Philly to the homeless guys on the streets. I'd see them and I'd stop some of my guys had some big old starter, those sleeping bag jackets.
Yeah, awesome.
I'd get a new one like every week and just give it to a homeless guy out there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Deal. Yeah.
Good
I
for you.
never kept any of my Eagles. So I did keep my rain suit.
Now I'm ashamed.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
That's okay. Okay. It's all right.
Now, moving into Tell Me More, we got a couple minutes here.
Yeah.
Real quickly, just want to mention it. Stephen Jones on the Fan just now talking with the KNC Masterpiece, who's on in the midday. They asked Stephen about trade-up scenarios. He said he doesn't necessarily, and I'm paraphrasing here, doesn't necessarily see a situation where they would trade up because of what the board may look like. But there is a possibility that they would trade backwards. And that's kind of what we've talked about. We've hit that a couple times throughout these last few episodes. If you want to go listen to those, go ahead and click on that and go back and listen. But we may talk about that more come draft night and what that possibility may look like. But Steven making it very clear, trading up doesn't sound like it's a huge possibility here. Let's go into some Tell Me More. Zach, I'll start with you. Who's the guy you want to talk about?
All right, so I put out a post, hey, who did the fans want to hear about? I got a lot about Andrew Armstrong, the wide receiver out of Arkansas. Now, the Beast, our buddy Dane Brugler, had him as an undrafted free agent.
Yes, he did.
I do think that he's worthy of a 6th or 7th round pick personally.
Okay.
6'4", 202, big body, transferred from East Texas A&M, redshirt senior. He led the SEC in receptions, yards, and receiving yards per game. And to be honest, that was with a subpar quarterback, in my opinion. Caught a pass in 39 straight games to end his career. He's a local kid, so he was a Dallas guy, played at Bishop Dunn. Very productive over the last 2 seasons at Arkansas. He's long, skinny, big body, true possession type of wide receiver. Now, he's not going to give you a ton after the catch, right? He's a little bit limited. You could say maybe some stiff hips, but I like his ability to win off the ball initially at the snap. He's pretty clean. Not the greatest route runner in terms of creating separation, but he's got tremendous hands. I mean, this guy pretty much caught everything that I saw thrown his way. So I love his ability when you get plays that are broken down and now he's got to play out of structure. He does an excellent job understanding levels and working himself open to where he can get into the sight line of the quarterback. Armstrong, big-bodied guy. If you're looking for somebody that can play the X, be a possession receiver, move the chains for you, I'd take a flyer on him late day 3.
I'm going to say this as a compliment. He is a not as athletic, slower CeeDee Lamb. That's kind of what I look at.
The number 2?
He doesn't. Well, yeah. Well, not only does he look like with the white,
no, I'm with you.
Red
dome,
but just the way that he, like I said, it's not polished. I'm not comparing him to CeeDee Lamb whatsoever, but you just look at kind of the route tree that he's got and the way that he runs. It looks a lot like, you know, what number 2 at Oklahoma looked like.
I got some Marquise Colston vibes when you watched him. Just that big body.
I like that.
Finds a way to just kind of make it happen for you. And he is slippery after the catch, but he's definitely not a burner. I mean, this guy doesn't have a ton of explosiveness.
All right, Tommy, who you got?
All right, I got one for you. Give me Ty Robinson from Nebraska.
Nice.
Defensive tackle, 6'5", 288 pounds. So he's on the lighter side, but this guy is really twitchy off the line of scrimmage. 4.83 in the 40. That's the fastest amongst all defensive tackles. The other red flag is he's going to be 24 when the season starts. But when you turn the film on, like I said, for his size, he's got great twitch. Wears the 288 pounds like he's 315. I mean, he is yoked. Just look at the size of his biceps here on the film. He is massive, plays a lot heavier. I feel like he can line up anywhere on the line from right over the center to coming off the edge. Uses his hands really well, throws guys off of him, has a great swim move to get into the backfield as a pass rusher or stopping the run. Really strong with his hands, but when the offensive line sets their base, and he can kind of be stopped in his tracks sometimes. So there are flashes of that play strength, but there are also flashes where he gets stopped up pretty quickly by maybe a stockier guy who has a better base. But he's a really smart football player. He can kind of do it all from a pass rushing perspective and a run stopping perspective. I love the versatility that he brings just in terms of where he can line up on the line of scrimmage. I think this is going to be a really good player. I've got him in the 3rd to 4th round.
He plays with some grit, doesn't he?
Yeah,
kind of nasty.
He's a true old school Cornhusker, black shirt defensive lineman.
This is textbook corn-fed Nebraska Cornhusker. I mean, this guy always goes after the ball when he's going after the quarterback. He's swatting at the ball, trying to punch it out. He's lined up at fullback here.
Yeah, I did love that.
He's just throwing guys out of the way. So this guy can do it all. He's uber athletic. I love the film a lot, and I love the player a lot.
Now, he kind of reminds me a little bit just from watching some of these tapes of John Ridgway a couple years back.
Sure.
Kind of nasty grit, kind of a back and forth player, old school, like you said, defensive tackle who gets active in the passing game. He never really panned out in Dallas, but he's had a decent career with the Washington Commanders over the last few years. So a little John Ridgway to his game. Brian, who's your guy?
I'm going to stump Beam on this one.
Uh-oh.
He didn't have film on this guy, I guarantee you.
Uh-oh.
Jackson Slater, center, guard, tackle from
Sac State.
And this guy, he played.
I bet you he's got it.
Yeah, he played left guard. If he does, man, I will be amazed. But he played left guard. He's lined up some at tackle. Look at Beam right there.
God, I love Chris Beam.
Boy,
Great job, Beamer.
It's all right. I'm gonna stump him.
All these years, I should have known not to play that game. But this guy he's played. When you the reason I like this kid is he's 6'3", he's 311. The thing about him is though he's played all the offensive line position. I think he's going to be a center. This guy's kind of a pin and pull expert. And if Dallas is going to go to a scheme where they play with lead blockers and they play with pulling, getting guys on the second level, Jackson Slater from Sac State can be a guy. This guy's got a burst. He's got range. He's got quickness out of his stance. He's one of these guys he's got some stoutness to him though. When he gets guys head up on him, he could sit down on him and see right there. He's look at that. That was a nasty play right there. He was able to kind of help his center a little bit. They get that secured there against Fresno, and then they punish the edge. That's the kind of demeanor this kid has. He's a 4-year starter here at Sac State. This is very similar to, we're talking about Bland, that Fresno got Bland. I think somebody in the Pac-12 at the time missed this kid. I think he's got that kind of ability. I have him in the 5th round, though, but if you're looking for pin and pull athletic offensive lineman, Jackson Slater's your guy.
I love it. He
Beam, you
pulled that
did me
up
wrong,
so
brother.
quick. That
You
was
did me
good.
wrong.
All right, you said you're going to stump him, Nick.
Yeah, we'll see.
Got 2 minutes left to stump the
okay.
Beam.
From
East
Texas Baptist University.
So
East Texas A&M now. Yeah, they've switched.
There is an East Texas Baptist though.
Is there a new
you don't
one?
even know about that.
Dang it.
Back in 2021, the Broncos they took a swing in the 3rd round on Quinn Miners, and he has ended up being one of the best guards in the NFL.
Yeah.
And they're really looking strong about that one. They got him from the Division III ranks at Wisconsin Whitewater. Granted, that's one of the best Division III programs in the country, but I'm going to go back to D3 country. Let me take you to the Green Mountain State. We're going to go take a look at Thomas Perry.
Yes, Thomas the Tank.
Out of Middlebury College. And yeah, Thomas the Tank, they got used to calling him during Shrine Bowl week. I had asked a couple of offensive line trainers. Damn it. Yeah, I had called
Dude,
This looks like high school.
That's this guy's.
Here we go.
He's a Duke Manyweather special right here.
Yeah.
Duke is working with him, and I'm with you. This is a hell of a play here, Nick. I love this pick by you.
Yeah, he's a mauler. He played left guard for 3 years, 3-year starter, and whenever he had that uptick in competition from the Shrine Bowl, he shined. And it was a weak offensive line class, in my opinion, at the Shrine Bowl. I thought he was the standout throughout the week from those guys. But talking to offensive line people last week and also kind of reading the tea leaves as far as visits he's taken, this guy's going to get drafted. He's going to get drafted day 3, and someone's going to take a swing on him to be a day 3 type selection. Yeah, this is a guy that I think could end up being pretty dominant at the next level. He's got the strength, he's got the finish, he's dominant against these guys in the D3 level, which is what you want to see. Could be a little bit longer, could be a little bit bigger, but I mean at 6'2.5", 309, he could definitely fill out and add a couple of pounds to his game and be fine. But the one big question that I have is like, the most of what he did at Middlebury, he was lining up in a 2-point stance. But I think if you just get the right offensive line coach in his development, he'll be ready to go. And again, he showed that he can stand up at the Shrine Bowl. Yeah. And these offensive line trainers really like this guy. They think he's going to be a sleeper in this draft, and he's gonna come out on top.
He was dominant in every single rep at the Shrine Bowl, getting to cover those practices, and he went up against some really good defensive tackles that were there. We're talking the Jordan Phillips out of Maryland and company. C.J. West was there out of Indiana. And his ability to sit down and hold his own against those with a really strong anchoring base and the heart that this dude plays with. That's a hell of a call right there. Thomas the Tank. I love that dude.
I've got one that I've switched my guy completely because I just want to try and see if I can stump Beam before we end out here. Good luck. Everybody's 0 for right now. I'm going to go with out of Miami, Ohio, Brian Ugwu, I believe is how you say his name. Transfer from Rutgers, 6'3", 250+ pounds. He was first team All-MAC last year, the MAC attack. Played really well against Notre Dame, had a couple tackles for loss in that matchup. Played well in multiple sacks against Eastern Michigan, against Ohio as well. I like his bend off the edge. He's a little slow on his get off a little bit. I'm waiting for the B-roll to step up. Is this it?
To you, I'm staring.
Number 8. He wore number 8. Beamer in the red for Miami, Ohio.
Might have gotten him.
I may have gotten him. I don't know. But either that or he's not in the draft, and I just missed him on my list, and I put him on there. Edge rusher is what he is.
He's in the draft.
Edge rusher, Chris Beam. All right, here we go. I only watched the Notre Dame game. He stuck out a little bit, and that's where I say he had 2 tackles for loss in that game. But I thought he was fun. I would probably take a flyer on him late day 3, but if you're hunting traits, he's got long arms, got some good bend to him. Wasn't a combine invite, but overall a pretty solid player out of the MAC and had some production throughout his team the last couple of years. Was second team All-MAC in 2023.
Yeah, you still played at an All-Pro level
buddy.
today, Beamer.
I was actually picking it because I thought since he had been an all conference player, you would have come up with it. But sorry to end on a low note.
He'll get him in the system before the draft.
Oh yeah, it'll be there on Thursday. We'll bring it back.
Not going to get drafted.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us here on the Draft Show. We'll be back on Thursday when we'll be 1 week out. Can't wait for next week's coverage. Remember, Draft 101 on Thursday evening. We'll remind you again on Thursday during our show, but make some plans. Get out there to the North Central Expressway in the fan showroom. Get to meet us and get to talk a little bit of draft and have some Whataburger as well. For Nick Harris, Tommy Arish, Brian Broaddus, Zach Wolchuk, Chris Beam doing some incredible work in the back, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Draft Show. We'll see you on Thursday.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!